Okay, so today is a new day. Alright, so today is a new day to trade the financial market again. So although I see my entry yesterday, but I could not trade the gold market yesterday. So right now, today is Tuesday, and um, my setup is has present itself to me, and I'm about to trade the financial market. So, and this is 4 minutes to 1 o'clock, which we will be entering into New York session, right? New York session. So, and I'm expecting price to actually. So let me quickly show you. All right. So I'm expecting price to actually come all the way down here before I take my buy trade. All right. So I think I should just start from higher time frame narrative so that you are going to understand. All right. So let me quickly do that, because every time that I want to trade, I want to ensure that I explain idea my trade idea to you, so that you also can actually understand what I'm actually doing. So on higher time frame, I can see that, as you can see, that this is 1 hour time frame, and price has been making higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher low. So right now I'm expecting price to make a new high. That is what I'm expecting right now. Okay, so, and you can see that I simply mark up my 1 hour demand zone right there, right? So this is my 1 hour demand zone. So, and I actually went down to 15 minutes time frame. Okay, I went down to 15 minutes time frame to see how price has been reacting. So I see that, I observe that price actually make 15 minutes break of structure right there, as you can see there. So price make 15-minute break of structure right there, and when price came all the way down to 15 minutes demand zone right there. So I simply went down to my 5 minutes time frame, because when price reacts to my demand zone, okay, on this case I want to see price shift from selling to buying, because it is very clear as day right now that price has been selling massively to the downside. Price has been creating lower lows, lower highs, right? Lower lows, lower highs, then this is the last low. Then the next thing we see price did is, okay, so what price did afterward is that price came all the way down here, creating lower low, right? So then price came all the way up here, so, and break this high, because if price wants to actually continue this selling momentum, so when price simply creates lower lows, lower highs, price will just keep creating lower lows and lower highs, then price will keep selling to the downside. So this is how I look for my confirmation actually, okay, that's going to interpret to me that buyers has entered into the market. All right, and as you can see that the buying opportunity that I'm currently looking for actually aligns with the higher time frame narrative. Okay, so right now on 5 minutes time frame, I actually observed that price created price created lower lows, lower highs and lower lows, right? So which means that this is my last lower highs, isn't it? So, and currently you can see that price has already you know break this lower highs, isn't it? So right now I'm actually waiting for my confirmation. And another thing that I actually observe on this 5 minutes time frame is that I see that price was actually consolidating around here, which simply means that liquidity is sitting below this zone, right? Which simply means that there are liquidity sitting below this zone, and I have already marked it out, right? So since I have marked that out, and I also mark up my 5 minutes demand zone, so I actually have, let me say that I actually have two 5 minutes demand zone around there, kind of, yeah. So I also have a minor 5 minutes demand zone right there. So they are almost equal, right? They are almost equal. So what I'm anticipating about price right now is that I want to expect price to come all the way down here to mitigate either this zone or this zone before I look for my buy trade. So, and my last confirmation on this zone is going to be, I'm going to expect probably a candle. I can say that pin bar candlestick, right? So I'm going to expect a pin bar candlestick to actually form at this zone or at this zone. Then I'm going to set my take profit, and I'm just going to forget about this trade. I mean, I'm just going to I'm going to forget about this trade. Yeah, I'm going to forget about this trade. So let me just set it right now. So I'm just going to manage my trade today, because I'm going to manage my trade today. So let me take it right here. So my stop loss is going to be below this 15 minutes demand zone. Yeah, it's going to be below here. So let us see how this trade is going to play out today. Okay, traders, eventually I actually win this trade, but I suffer a lot on this trade. I mean, the emotional reaction is very, very high. My emotional reaction is very high yesterday. That, man, this trade suffer me a lot. It suffers me a lot. In fact, I even over leverage. Yeah, I over leverage. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I over leverage on this trade. As in, I was waiting yesterday. I usually, like, my trading day is Tuesday, right? My trading day is Tuesday, and I already have 2 losses on this trade before I actually enter this trade correctly. Although my trade setup is, I already know that price is going to reverse at this 15 minutes demand zone. But yesterday afternoon, like, the emotional reaction about this trade is just very, very high. Like, it's very, very high to the extent that I was just thinking that this trade is very, very slow. And so let me just quickly explain, because I just want to be more transparent, because I know that this is a journey. And so yesterday I see that price has already make a 5 minutes market shift right here. I think I should show my screen very well. So I see that I was actually expecting that price will actually come all the way down to this 15 minutes demand zone before I take a buy trade. But yesterday, when I see that price already, I observed that price already make a market shift right there. So I was waiting for price to actually come all the way down. Like, when I see that price even made 5 minutes break of structure right there, I was like, is it not that price has already started moving to the upside like this? And I was just waiting that, or should I enter this trade like this or not? Okay, so, like, should I enter this trade or not? And I also observed that price was actually consolidating around this area. So now I was waiting at that point in time. I have not even entered the trade at all. I have not entered the trade at all. So what I noticed is that, okay, there is a liquidity sitting below here, right? So when I see that price sweep this liquidity down here, I was like, man, I see this momentum right there. I see that this momentum has already started moving, and I was like, I'm going to enter this trade though. So I actually entered this trade. I entered the I entered the long position around here. I set my stop loss below here, and I target the next high, something thereabout. But eventually I just observed that price was moving against me. Like, price was actually going up. It was actually going up. But at the point in time, I said that, wow, this selling momentum is very, very strong. Like, it was very, very strong. And I see that price was already approaching my stop loss zone. Like, immediately it got to this level right there, I just exit the trade, like, instantly. That is my number 1 loss, and I think I lost about $50 on this position right there. So no, at that point in time, my emotional reaction is very, very high. That I was thinking that, what is going on with gold this afternoon? I'm not seeing, like, gold is not moving as I envision it. So immediately I have that loss. I was like, what is happening right now? I need to wait for for price. You know, at that point in time, I did not even remember that I'm waiting for price to come and retest my 15 minutes demand zone. Like I did not even remember, because I know that the New York and London overlap session has already started, and I just expect that, okay, since New York and London overlap session has started, price should start moving. Like, you know, I was waiting for buy opportunity. So when I see this candle forming, I was like, man, it is high time that London and New York session has started, and that I should enter the trade. But eventually I lose that trade. All right, I lose that trade. So, you know, that actually happened. Now, the second loss that I have on this trade was in fact, you know, I actually mark up so I know that this is my valid 5 minutes market shift, right? So I see that I have another break of structure to the upside here, which is 5 minutes. So immediately I have this loss. Okay, let me zoom my screen. So immediately I have this loss around here. Yeah, around here. So I mark up my 5 minutes demand zone. So I was thinking that, okay, it is afternoon already, price should have started pushing to the upside. So I mark up my 5 minutes demand zone. You can imagine, I mark up my 5 minutes demand zone. So when I mark up my 5 minutes demand zone, I see price coming all the way down here. So immediately I see that price has already respected my 5 minutes demand zone. Then that is where I was actually anticipating that, wow, okay, price has already respected my 5 minute demand zone, and I can see this, you know, buying momentum going to the upside. And immediately I see price got to this level right there, I just entered the trade. Yeah, I entered the trade around here. So I entered another long position, I think somewhere. I can remember now. So when I see this in fact, you know, this trading is just, you know, it will deal with your mental health, really. So I see that, okay, when price came all the way down here, and I see that my 5 minutes demand zone, in fact, okay, it was this candle that I actually draw out. So immediately I see that this candlestick, this pin bar candlestick has already formed. Then I enter another buy opportunity. Like, I entered around here. Okay, I enter around there, and I set my stop loss below here, somewhere around there. And eventually price did not even enter my, you know, my take profit zone. It didn't enter there. Price just keeps selling to the downside, and I was like, man. So on this trade I lost about I think I cannot remember. My phone is not even here, so I can show you. My phone is not here. So I lost about $200. Yeah, $200. As in, you know, the emotional reaction is very, very high. Like, not until I sat down, because I just went to check my recordings again, and I checked my conferences and all of that, and I see that price is like, my price objective is actually right. I know that my price objective is actually right, and that, okay, what is actually missing? How am I making this mistake? Like, silly mistake. Like, they are silly mistake. You can imagine that they are silly mistake. So I just knew that, okay, I was actually waiting for this 15 minutes demand zone, for price to actually mitigate this 15 minute demand zone. So, and immediately I see that price has already tapped into this 15 minute demand zone, and I already know that I have a clear market shift at my 5 minutes time zone, right? I know that I already have so I see that my 5 minutes market shift has already happened here. So I was actually expecting price to come all the way down here before the buying opportunity starts. Yeah, that was what I was actually waiting for. That is what I was waiting for. And when I realized that, I simply switched back to my 15 minutes time zone. And after that, and what actually gave me the confirmation that this is going to be a buy trade. I mean that this is going to be a buy trade is this buying candle that is very strong right there. So yesterday, that was about evening time, around 8 o'clock. So around 8 o'clock, I know that by 9 o'clock the New York session is going to close. So I just leave the trade to run up to this morning. Up to this morning. So that is like, and waking up this morning, I check my chart and I see that price has already reached this level. I was like, wow, this is massive. Like, I was so like, me to do, like, I was so happy that price has already moving to my take profit zone. All right. So, but in fact, I told you that I over leverage. I'm not going to lie about that. I over leverage. I know that I over leverage. But I actually exit the trade somewhere around there, kind of. So I exit the trade around there, and I made about $323 on this trade. Now, I'm really glad, sincerely, that this trade actually play out. So this is I've never had this kind of experience in my trading journey. I've never had this kind of experience. It actually deals with me a lot. Like, I was even at a point in time, I even said that this trading, I'm fed up. I said that I'm really fed up. I'm fed up. Like, this really deal with my mental health. But regardless, I'm just so happy that I'm able to execute the right trade that I envisioned initially. So, and one thing that I actually observe on this trade is that for me, waiting for price to actually come to my demand zone, okay, it actually took long hours. I think that is something that I'm currently learning about trading, that even if I see my trading plan aligning, like, even if I see the trade aligning with my trading plan, I still need to actually wait. I think that's the discipline that I'm currently learning, because the hours that it took for price to move from this point onward, for it to break, for it to shift from selling to buying, is about 5 hours 30 minutes. And after that 5 hours 30 minutes, another long hours waiting for price to actually come and retest this zone is another 5 hours 15 minutes. That is about 11 hours waiting for price to come and react to my demand zone before I take my buy trade. That is unspoken of. Like, that is a long hours that that I have not built that discipline enough. But I'm just so glad that I actually waited for price to actually react. Yesterday I was like, man, can it take this long hours for price to actually react before it comes to my demand zone? Because when price was actually consolidating around here, what I was actually expecting is that price will just drop bangam. And it starts moving to the upside. But really, it doesn't. Like, it is very clear as day that it doesn't work that way, because this is my expectation. And damn, like, I'm just so happy. So my trading account right now is back to break even. In fact, I'm already in a big drawdown. So this trade, I risked about $117. Like I risked about $117. I'm just so glad that this trade played out. Okay, so now I have learned my lessons. I have learned that sometimes it's going to take 5 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours before price actually respect my demand zone. In fact, after I publish this video, I'm going to ensure that I watch this video again, so that I'm going to learn all my lessons again. So I know that I'm building this discipline of waiting for price to actually come to me, regardless of the hours. It can take 5 hours, it can take 2 hours, it can take 5 hours, it can take 10 hours before it comes to me. I know that after this, I have learned my lesson to wait for price to come to me. Yeah, that is what I actually like, man. So I'm really glad. So traders, everyone watching this video right now, I just want to share my trading journey, because I have long-term vision about trading, and I know that I just believe that you are also learning the discipline. Don't shout. You are also learning the discipline to be a profitable trader, because really this is unspoken of. Like I can't believe this. Close the door. So traders, that is, close it, close it a little bit. Oh yeah, leave it, come inside, come inside. So I just hope that you learned from this video, and this is just the reality of me trading. Sincerely, this is the reality of me trading, and I know that this is just going to be a story, because in some months now, in some days now, in some years now, I'm going to come back to this video. I'm just going to be smiling, laughing. By then I'm going to be consistently profitable. Yeah, I know that right now I'm not consistently profitable, but I know that I'm going to be consistently profitable in the long run. So traders, it is what it is. This is the reality of trading. I hope that you learn from this video. So take care of yourself.